Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so very much for tuning in. Wasn't going to do another live stream, but I said, why not? This is a very interesting story, and I think that it needs a discussion and analysis. There is no rivalry between Donald Trump and Ron DeSantis. There's absolutely no rivalry at all. And what's taking place is that you want people, or there are people who want desperately, they absolutely are desperate, okay, to have a rivalry between Trump and DeSantis. Why? Because they don't want Trump. They really don't want Trump in the Oval Office. They're desperate not to have Donald Trump as GOP nominee. They're going to do anything possible through endless investigations, obsession, an apoplectic, hysterical obsession regarding everything to do with Trump while we have a recession, while we have a terrible geopolitical nightmare taking place in Europe. And by the way, to my super chat, ladies and gentlemen, if you want to talk about anything to do with this story or any other issue, the economy, foreign policy, your support is greatly appreciated, ladies and gentlemen. But there is no rivalry between Trump and DeSantis. There is no rivalry. The issue is that you have a former New York Times, High Tones Drifter, hello, Kristen, hello, Hetty, hello. You have a former New York Times, or either a current New York Times journalist, not exactly sure, but we can read this right now. Former President Donald Trump offered a stunning rebuke of Florida Governor Ron DeSantis' polls show the latter posing a significant obstacle to the former's 2024 plans. I love DeSantis. He's fantastic. There's no way that he could defeat Trump in a nomination. If he were to go up against Trump, he would lose. And I think he would lose by a substantial margin. The reason is because Trump is proven. We had record low unemployment. We had record low in poverty with Trump. We had a record low in poverty in 2019 with Trump and a record high in household median income. He was the first president to step foot in North Korea. Negotiated the Doha Agreement, Abraham Accords. We did not have an invasion, a geopolitical nightmare in Europe. Why didn't we? So the people who thought that Trump was this wrecking ball, this horrible destabilizing force, why is everything bad that could happen taking place under mashed potato brains Joe? Why does the Biden administration preside over everything that could possibly go wrong in American society and world affairs? Why is that the case? So the obsession with Trump is a gratuitous, self-serving sleight of hand. Paul Bartlett! Thank you, Paul. Thank you very much. Paul Bartlett, thank you. To my super chat, thank you so much, Paul. As always, thank you. So kind of you. As always. So kind of you. And for your support always. Thanks, Paul. I can't thank you enough. And I love the name that you've given me, the Algorithmist. Because everything wonderful, morally superior liberal Democrats touch turns into a dystopian world where, in this case, we have to watch what we talk about. And I'm pretty good with that. I find a very long-winded, annoying, verbose manner of explaining myself without the robots, the robots ingrained or programmed with liberal sensibilities to get upset. But anyway, thank you so very much, Paul. There is no rivalry here. So Trump shared his opinion about his former ally to New York Times reporter Maggie Haberman, whom he spoke to in an on-record capacity 3 times as part of the research for her new book, Confidence Man, The Making of Donald Trump and the Breaking of America. How did we break as a society? The only thing that broke was the collective, the minds of morally superior Democrats, the liberal sensibilities. What broke was not the country. We were doing great in terms of you judge a president by the economy and foreign policy. That's how you judge a president. You don't judge a president by whether or not Stephen Colbert or Jimmy Kimmel or Hollywood or the New York Times thinks he's a good president. You judge a president by the economy. End of story. We had an amazing, I remember with Bill Clinton, oh, finally you bring my name up in a positive light. Clinton, we had, it's the economy, stupid. We had a good economy with Clinton, okay? Bill Clinton is a million times better than what we have now, mashed potato brains. But Trump was a million times better than any president. I would say he was better than any president in my lifetime. He was the best president in my lifetime. There's not even a close second. We had President Obama destroying, with a failed NATO intervention, Libya. Okay, there's not even a close second. We didn't have record low in poverty with President Obama or with Bill Clinton. Definitely Bush was horrendous. You could say, well, Reagan brought the country back after Jimmy Carter, and now we have something worse than it's Jimmy Carter 2.0. I mean, you ask, like, how is the breaking of America? Paul Clank, gift set. Mr. Mr. Potato Head Toy, instant potatoes. Thank you, Paul. My question is, Steppenwolf, hello. Liberal sensibilities do not run the world, nor do they define reality. Liberal sensibilities do not define reality. Okay? You have a failed intervention with President Obama that completely wrecked the country in Libya. Infinitely worse than anything Trump has ever done. Okay? And nobody talks about that on the left because they really don't care. The thing with being oftentimes, there are wonderful progressives, beautiful human beings. They're wonderful people. Wonderful liberal Democrats. There are a lot of great human beings. But the people who are obsessed with Trump, it's a self-serving obsession. JG! Chag Sameach, JG. Happy Rosh Hashanah to everybody celebrating it. The obsession with Trump is a premeditated, orchestrated, manufactured, apoplectic, oftentimes almost always hysterical, laser focus on anything to do with his personality, his demeanor, his personality, his words, his rhetoric. I don't care about Trump's rhetoric. I care about Trump's economic policies. I care about the fact that we had a great economy with Trump. Hundreds of thousands of new manufacturing jobs. Hetty, thank you. Hundreds of thousands of new manufacturing jobs. Real wages were up under Trump. Real wages are down 4.4%. And poverty, according to one estimate, is close to 15%. Then there's another number that says, well, it's 11%, which is complete nonsense. Complete and utter nonsense. We have inflation at 8 to 9% with a third quarter of negative growth on the way. So there's no rivalry with DeSantis. DeSantis is the next GOP nominee after Trump, or if Trump doesn't decide to run. But is he a better politician? Probably. He's probably a better politician. Has he experienced the full, has he experienced everything that Trump has experienced? Was there a DeSantis dossier? No. Okay. Unless you have a dossier that says you're in a Moscow hotel room, okay, you haven't experienced what Trump experienced. And it's not really like, you have to take it with a grain of salt because nobody knows if he actually stated those things about DeSantis. Furthermore, you're talking about a New York Times journalist. You're talking about a New York Times journalist. And a New York Times journalist is going to have a specific objective, dare I say, an agenda. They don't like anything to do with Trump. So why, like, I kind of don't understand. I mean, it's obvious, like, Trump wants this person to write a story about him, or write a book about him, but I don't see why. I don't see why. When you look at you can look, ladies and gentlemen, at just Trump, DeSantis. There's a reason there's a specific political objective here. Trump and DeSantis, Washington Post, once allies, now in simmering rivalry with 2024 nearing. There is no rivalry. Anyone who votes for Trump likes DeSantis. Not everyone who likes DeSantis likes Trump. Okay? And I actually had the mindset for a moment that, you know what, DeSantis might be a better candidate. But then I realized that he hasn't experienced the slings and the arrows that Trump has. There's no way, like, the DeSantis we see now is going to be different than an entire media machine, from Stephen Colbert to Jimmy Kimmel to New York Times, the Washington Post, to the Atlantic, Vanity Fair, Esquire, Rolling Stone, every social media algorithm, the Department of Justice, Democrats in Florida, Democrats somehow in New York investigating this. I mean, there were, with endless DeSantis investigations. Let's say DeSantis says something a bit crude. Oh my God, the sensationalized coverage. It's really interesting, too, because it's kind of hilarious, because Democrats say, well, we're going to knock Trump out, and then we'll deal with DeSantis. It's like, well, number one, there's no rivalry. Number two, DeSantis is probably a better politician. They might have actually a tougher time with DeSantis, which you would say it's counterintuitive for me to still want Trump. But I'm not going to allow the New York Times or government agencies to decide the fate of the United States of America. Okay? If they care about democracy, then we're going to have a democracy. They care so much about democracy, but they don't really want to see it flourish. They don't really want to see democracy flourish. They would rather have Liz Cheney and Adam Kinzinger and Republicans they know they could defeat easily. Okay, Trump slams DeSantis. How Democrats gave Ron DeSantis a pass. Washington Post, GOP donors are being told by Trump to stop boosting DeSantis. This is all nonsense. This is all nonsense because we have a recession. I mean, there used to be a time not long ago in American politics where a president presiding over a recession and a political party presiding over a recession had practically no chance of being in office when the time came to, to vote the politicians out. We have a recession, high interest rates, negative GDP for 3 consecutive quarters. What did Trump do to you? Morally superior liberal Democrats who watch CNN and Stephen Colbert at night and read the New York Times and feel that, the country is descending into madness and chaos, even though you had the House, the Senate, and the executive for 2 years and you did nothing with it except ruin the country. What did I don't know what Trump did to these people, aside from just, have aside from preside over some great policies, a fantastic economy, a wonderful foreign policy. I mean, you had Bush, who destabilized an entire region of the world. You had President Obama, who got us into numerous quagmires and counterinsurgency conflicts. You had Bush, Cheney, and Rumsfeld started off. The economy tanked under Bush at the end and then slowly rebounded with President Obama as he pumped money into too big to fail banks. Fine. But the Dodd-Frank law that he was very proud of has not addressed derivatives. So we have a derivatives nightmare. And have I not been telling everybody? If you look, ladies and gentlemen, you want to know the Dow Jones futures, NASDAQ futures, they're all down. Okay? They're all down. And tomorrow's probably going to be a terrible, it could go up tomorrow, but I mean, my question is, who are the Wall Street traders buying? I mean, if you're buying stocks and you're trading, it's like a very quick buy and then dump. Long-term, the long-term prospects for the U.S. economy are terrible. Let's look at something really quickly. We'll just do it later. I believe the 10-year and 3-year are still inverted. Yields, treasury yields. So you have a situation where the market is tanking like I said it would. The stock futures are down 165. NASDAQ and S&P are going to plummet further. Corporate profits are going to decline. So corporate profits are going to decline. Derivatives are very risky, arcane financial instruments where these are bets on, for example, the price fluctuation. So it's a contract. You're not really buying a stock. You're buying a contract with an underlying stock. And then, I mean, there's all these different types of derivatives where you're betting on the price going up or the price going down, or with credit default swaps, you're selling risk, or you were selling risk when it pertaining to insurance companies back in 2008. So they're just very, very risky contracts that are still secret, by the way, that government, like SEC and other government regulators, don't really have a grasp of. And so poverty rate, 14.7%. Okay? We had a 10.5% poverty rate under Trump. We have inflation, core inflation going up, high rent, food prices. Consumer price index rises 0.1% in August. Core CPI surges 0.6%. And so you have the Federal Reserve raising interest rates into a shrinking economy. Does that make any sense to anybody? Does that make any sense to anyone? I mean, it really, like, it doesn't make, this is the thing, like, it's not about policy. Politics, U.S. politics, American politics has nothing to do with policies or economic, nothing to do with any standard definition of success. It's just a pure, like, the quest for power and influence. That's it. That's it. There's no agreed upon measurement of success. Like, most people used to be, oh, well, if the economy is good, then I'll vote for this person again. But if the economy isn't good, then I don't want that person in office. That's pretty much what drove voters. You can actually have a recession with a terrible economy, and still, if you you have to understand, like I keep talking, late night is huge. I mean, Republicans should look into any possible collusion or some kind of there's no way that Democratic staffers or politicians or operatives aren't feeding late night talk show hosts their monologues. There's just no way. Every day it's like you're watching the DNC Comedy Hour, the Democratic Party Comedy Hour. And you could say, well, there's Fox News and Greg Gutfeld is fantastic. The Five, okay, but you have every single comedian, every single late night show, and like every other kind of political comedy show. And so, Cyan, hello. And so you have a situation where DeSantis hasn't been like targeted or hit by this barrage of Hollywood journalism. I mean, it's not journalism today. It's not about the truth. It's about get Trump. That's it. Get Trump, cover up for Democrats, and that's it. And then this is the sad and really, really sad and kind of depressing, but it shouldn't be depressing because I'm telling you, the reality of the situation. You know the reality. I mean, it's right in front of us. You have people, good people, who you never did anything to, but they'll disown you because all they know is Trump is evil and horrible and bad. And they know this because the New York Times, the Washington Post, CNN, MSNBC, Stephen Colbert, Jimmy Kimmel, social media algorithms, the entire American political system tells them Trump is bad. And it's warped their minds. So if you explain to them, you know what, there's 70 million people who are voting for a man that allocated more funding to historically black colleges and universities than any president ever, moved the embassy to Jerusalem, negotiated the Doha Agreement, first president to step foot in North Korea, record low in poverty, record highs in household median income, hundreds of thousands of new manufacturing jobs, tried to do something, even though it wasn't perfect at all, and there was a policy that I was against. But again, like I'm also against the policies of the mashed potato brains Joe taking place in the southern geographic region of our country. Again, I have to be the algorithmist just to be safe. But, I mean, you have people losing their lives, like 50 people in a truck. Not one word from AOC. You have atrocities taking place all the time. And their rebuttal is, it's not official policy. Actually, it almost is official policy to allow these atrocities to take place without any media coverage. Casey Martin! Do you think there will ever be a time that all of TV isn't dominated by the left? There probably will be a time. Casey, thank you. There probably will be a time, maybe 5, 6, 7, 8 years from now, because people are going to have enough. It's going to be lucrative. It'll be lucrative enough. See, right now, Hollywood is very happy not making all the money that it could make because of an ideological obsession. Paul Bartlett, you're right. Casey, I think that eventually, economic consideration. You look at box office sales; they've tanked, or they're not nearly where they should be. See, TV is TV shows or late night shows. They're happy taking a gigantic dump on Trump, DeSantis, half the country because they get enough money. Their advertisers, they get enough advertising. Robert, that's smart. That's smart, Robert. Very smart. They get enough money, Casey. Thank you so very much. To my super chat, thank you so much. Casey, they get enough money just catering to half the country. So that's what that's about. If you can cater to half the country, you can then fulfill your ideological obsession with contempt for Trump. Let's see. Let's just look at here. Recession. Stocks tumble, dollar soars, and bond plunges as recession fears grow. Dow plunges 500 points. You look, classic moment of failed technocracy. It's rocketing us towards a global. Okay. Stock traders brace for deeper dive. We are now probably going to see very soon a 2,000 to 4,000 point drop in the Dow Jones. We're probably going to see that within the next month, couple months, in 1 or 2 days, unfortunately. Or, we'll see the steady decline downwards. And you have to, this is right before midterms. No amount of obsession by Stephen Colbert and by Jimmy Kimmel and by the Washington Post and the New York Times is going to save Democrats politically. This is all taking place under their watch. And their policies led to all of this. Robert, your top say, hey, get her done. Thank you, Robert. Greatly appreciated, Robert. Thank you. Thank you, Robert. Great, and thank you for the kind words always. I appreciate that. Cash flow, I think that there's a chance of a depression, but that would be a recession lasting for 2 years, 3 years, and high unemployment and massive layoffs, which is possible. We could flirt with a depression. Ladies and gentlemen. This is going to be a very bad week in the market, very likely. The stock market is completely counterintuitive. It could go up this week, but it's probably not. I have been saying, ladies and gentlemen, since September of 2022, that we are going to have, if you look at the beginning, the introduction to this channel, okay? If you look at the introduction to this channel, I've been telling people this for a long time. I predicted this. Getless, hello. I've been telling people this for a long, long time. And I agree with you. Stock up on canned goods. I'm not saying that the world's going to end, but there was a run on toilet paper. Okay? Not long ago. So food prices are going up, and that was in the middle of a good economy, or an economy that hadn't been completely decimated. We are now trying to rebound from, and who told people to do that? Who were the experts? What political side gleefully tanked the U.S. economy? And it wasn't for, because of what, and they cared so much. There was a political consideration there. The Orange Menace was president. And that's one of the reasons, one of the main reasons I want Trump is because so many people who are so ignorant and petulant and malicious don't want him. In addition to the fact he was a great president. But I'm not going to let journalists whose only goal is to prevent Trump from being in office decide the fate of U.S. history. Love trucks, HAF, so late big week ahead, huge week. Love trucks, huge week ahead, huge week. We are going to have a huge week, ladies and gentlemen, and unfortunately, it's probably going to be a situation where people are going to lose a lot of money. Retirement accounts are going to dwindle. Z Corp Alpha. Thank you, Z Corp. Thank you. Did you watch the Dennis Prager interview on TV? It was absolutely sickening the way they treated him. News like you, sir. Keep focused in dark times. Thank you. I didn't, and he probably ran circles around them. It's not that difficult. You're not talking about, the sharpest tools in the shed, but those people have $20 million in venture capital funding a couple of years back. So they're the wealthiest, democratic socialists on the planet. Let's put it this way, Z Corp. Bernie Sanders had to unendorse the man who started that. Okay, he had to unendorse the people who apparently, mistreated Dennis Prager. But I haven't seen that, and I'll look it up. But he probably ran circles around them, which isn't difficult to do. Robert, yeah, I mean, it's. I was telling people for 2 years now. No, I'm sorry, 1 year. September. Yeah, going on 1 year. I said, if you needed the money for retirement, you had no business being in the market. If you needed the money for retirement, you had no business being in the market. And unfortunately, I think that Z Corp, things are going to go a lot worse. The thing is, how could you, if you were part of that channel, on the left, how could you defend the economy? The whole shtick is working class people. They're doing worse. Working class people were doing better. The middle class was doing better under Trump. You could look like people without college degrees, people with college degrees, people in blue collar jobs. Everyone was doing better. Everyone was doing better under Trump. I mean, that's a fact. James, exactly. And it didn't take a rocket scientist to see this. Go watch the playlist on this channel, ladies and gentlemen. Read my article in the Federalist. I've been telling people this since September of last year. And, I've been telling people this since this. And there's going to be a point, unfortunately, where his poll ratings are terrible, but Kimberly, hello. His poll ratings are terrible, but Mashed Potato Brains Joe is just going to even do worse in terms of poll ratings. And it's not like other countries around the world don't see what's going on. They see what's going on. It's not like, all these adversaries that Democrats claim to care so much about and, obsess over. We have our foreign policy, along with the foreign policy of Western Europe, is so counterproductive. Instead of, you had Macron for a second, you had some of those leaders try to work to perhaps prevent an absolute catastrophe, an invasion that took place. Do you think Biden's administration took 1 second to maybe negotiate? No, their policies stunk, and they wanted to blame all of their failed and horrible policies on a terrible geopolitical nightmare in Europe that they allowed to happen, that their foreign policy fostered, let's just say. So there is no rivalry with Trump or DeSantis, but that's what media wants us to. Here's the real issue. Oh, look. Possible and U.S. warns of catastrophic consequences if you know who uses you know what and you know where. What consequences? What could we possibly do? What could we possibly do? We have poverty rate skyrocketing, inflation through the roof, our stock market's about to tank in a biblical manner. I told everyone this. Okay, and they're focused on Trump DeSantis. Let's just read this real quick. The nonsense. So wait. Okay, hold on one second. U.S. warns of catastrophic. Like, what more could we possibly do? Would act decisively? How would you act decisively? I want to know this. By doing what? Helping Madam Secretary transfer classified data on an unclassified system, which is actually what Sullivan was accused of in one of the emails. I believe it was the campaign emails. U.S. will act decisively. To do what? We already banned oil and got everyone to stop doing business with them. And yeah, U.S. and our allies, they don't really care. You keep on talking about our allies. It's like you're talking about people. If this was like this big like confrontation, it would be like a person who used to be very powerful with a whole bunch of people behind that person who used to be powerful, who are smaller and weaker. The U.S. and our allies will respond decisively. And we have been clear. What decisively? What more could you possibly do, Biden administration, to tank this world and the economy and the U.S. Stock market and just global affairs and foreign affairs? What more can you possibly do? Exactly. Well, we can't do anything, and we shouldn't do anything. What are you gonna do? Launch a reciprocal strike? Then everybody glows. Then it's a glow in the dark planet. So it's just, I mean, you can't make this up. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. I'm running out of steam right now. I just wanted to do a quick video live stream. I think this was an interesting topic to discuss. To my super chat, I cannot thank you enough. And be here tomorrow at 9:30 a.m., ladies and gentlemen. Stock market crash channel tomorrow, very important. And H.A. Goodman's other channel tomorrow, very important. The market is tanking. The economy is in free fall. Unfortunately, I told everyone this would take place. And the only thing that they're focused on now is Trump, DeSantis. Oh my God, Trump. Focus on Trump. Don't look at the terrible economy and the horrific geopolitical nightmare that mashed potato brains got us into. JG, everybody here. Robert, thank you, everybody. Z Corp, thank you. I'll see you, everybody. Eric, thank you, everybody. I'll see you soon.